What is up, everyone, and welcome to another issue of Sibling Rival-Read, the comic book club
Cub like a bear.
like a bear. Rawr. Comic book club show hosted by yours truly. It's Ben Pie, next to none other than my sibling herself,
Anna Kin.
There
The
you go.
dash Kin. I draw it, and then I realized that the podcast people cannot see the drawing.
Well, I mean, we are on YouTube too. For those on YouTube, sorry for the random camera movement there. I just wanted the top of my head to be in here instead of cut off like it was.
Baby.
So this week was the independent book.
Which was my pick.
Yeah, we've been on a pretty good roll with the books this time around.
Relatively, yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that this one I felt was a much riskier choice than, obviously, my Daredevil pick.
So if I had noticed that this was by Rick Remender, I wouldn't have told. I would have told you there's not a risky pick at all. He's an awesome comic book author. He did a run of Spider-Man that I really love.
Well, I mean, you know this as well as the majority of the family, even though they keep forgetting. I am terrible with names.
Are you?
Atrocious with names. I could have known you for years, and I will get your last name wrong.
That's a last name. Who cares?
But, so I mean, even if I read...
Yeah, your dog. Sorry
so
about
sorry.
that. For those listening and having earbuds in.
I'm sorry. But yeah, so even if I've read something by Rick Remender, I do not remember.
Yeah, so the writer is Rick
That was
Remender.
funny.
And the artist is Greg Tocchini. It's like bad foot pasta. Right?
But my joke for remember wasn't funny.
No.
That was bad.
So tell us, why did you pick this one?
I'm so sad to say that I don't have like a really good explanation for why I picked this one with how much I enjoyed it. I had a list of, like, I was between 3 independent comics, and I had them all opened on separate pages, and under the, like, we recommend this. This one happened to be there, and I couldn't pick between the 3, so I clicked on this one, and I was like, this looks cool. I was like, never mind about the other 3, let's just do this. And that's the entire story for why I picked this one, and I wish it was a better one.
That's kind of...
It's so sad.
I'm glad that happened, though, because...
I am too, I really like it.
So real quick, before we continue, I am going to mention this podcast episode is going to be labeled explicit, as is the YouTube video, because there is a hefty amount of nudity and colorful language in this comic. It's one of those things where, you know, we did another independent comic that had a lot to do with the underwater, and that was just like gratuitous bull crap.
It's already going to be explicit. Why does it matter?
Yeah, it's true. Whereas this one, I feel like it kind of it didn't, not necessarily added to the story, but it didn't take me out of the story to have it in there.
Right.
Like it tread that fine line between like Game of Thrones nudity.
I haven't seen Game of Thrones.
Well, okay. Any HBO series nudity then.
Okay.
And I don't know what else to... It wasn't...
It was definitely one of those ones with the nudity and things like that it made sense with the story, but was on borderline of being a little bit excessive.
Yes.
Which it never crossed that line.
But it walked that line.
Yes, it did. And as the Olympics are going, would have been an Olympiad. Olympian. What's an Olympiad?
An Olympic game. I don't know.
Okay. I did love this forward.
So I actually didn't read the forward.
I've read every forward that we have had.
Yeah, this is the first one that I didn't read because I usually read the forwards after.
Yeah.
Understandable. And since we are bulk recording 2 episodes today,
forward, so you read it afterward.
I know, but I don't want to. I don't want anything given away. Essentially, but yeah. So I read it after. Or I usually read it after. I didn't read this one because we're bulk recording this and our manga pick.
Right. But I can say what this one was about.
Okay.
Because I thought it was super interesting with because it was all about the writer's perspective on coming up with the storyline. And he had already paired up with the artist, knowing that they wanted to do a series together again. And they had a list, or he had a list running of different topics that he wanted to kind of hit, and he wasn't in love with any of them. And he reread a National Geographic's article that reminded him of his childhood when, you learn that, like, every child, apparently, with how he phrased this, it was like, everyone learns this, and then you're just like, oh no. That just a few years prior, he had accepted that everyone's going to die at some point, and then he learns later that everything that we do, in his opinion, won't make a huge difference because the sun is eventually going to expand and, like, kill everything off on planet Earth. And so he read a National Geographic's article that went over that topic again, and he was like, oh, that would be so cool. And then he also went through therapy around this time because he felt like he was a very pessimistic person, and therapy helped him gain a more positive outlook, which changed how he approached the world around him, which made him exceptionally inclined to have a overly optimistic or overly outwardly optimistic character. Because I don't want to say she's overly optimistic, but she is excessively showing it.
Yeah, she's definitely
in a
one
world
of those,
where, like, everyone is pessimistic.
Yeah, it's definitely optimism to a fault, outwardly. She definitely, and there's nothing wrong with this. I absolutely believe that a positive mental attitude can get you incredibly far in life. She takes it to an extreme. It
becomes a religion.
Yeah.
I mean, which I thought was incredibly interesting.
What did they call the religion? Oh, that's good. I'm sure we'll get to it. It's okay. But yeah, and once again, it's like this is another story where it's like it's pulling on my heartstrings right from the very beginning. I don't know how it would have affected me if I didn't recently have a child, or my wife, had a child and I watched.
I cried, but I mean, I'm an overly emotional person.
There's the very first issue of this novel is kind of introducing the world itself, and this family line that has a very special kind of underwater suit that allows them to, essentially be Iron Man underwater.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
And it only works for him and his bloodline.
Correct.
So, it's all of these, what would be considered well-off people living in an underwater dome, and he's essentially the one in this dome that can go out and explore. And
he's the last one, because there were more. Just as a
that's right.
There were more, and he is the last remaining.
Yeah, but he's been the last remaining one for like his
family has been the last one for a while.
Right. And essentially he's the one that's meant to go out, find food for this world, this dome, and all of that. And the novel, opens up with him teaching his, what were they, 10-year-old daughters?
Yeah.
How, like, what this was going to be like. And, of course, in any post-apocalyptic world, there's the well-off people that are living, in, I won't say luxury, but a lot more comfortably than others. And then there are, like, these other, like, scavenger-like people that are essentially, starting off right away with nudity, that essentially live
like pirates.
Like pirates, yeah. it's kind of like, if anyone's read the Light of the Jedi novel that came out last year, there's like this group called the Nihil, and these marauders, these pirates, these underwater pirates, reminded me very much of the Nihil.
Okay.
I know you don't understand that reference, but there might be
That's
someone
okay.
listening who understands that reference. And I found them incredibly fascinating in that novel, and in this graphic novel, equally so. So they get led into a trap, essentially, where the pirates, God, I forget their names as well. This is what I get for trying to read so much all at once.
I'm just terrible with names. I remember the son's name, and I remember
Merrick?
her name.
I don't remember her name.
Because I thought it was funny.
So yeah, this group of marauders essentially capture the ship, figure out that these helm suits are powered because of like the DNA of the family, so only that family can use them. So they chop out this guy's eye.
Which I loved. I would also like to say that I picked this comic, and I have the biggest, like, ooey gooiness about, like, in gross context, not in the, like, lovey-dovey context, of losing an eyeball. I had a teacher, my favorite teachers, with a glass eye, so every time, like, and we had to watch a video on how they're made, so the whole taking out the eyeball freaked me out so bad.
Yeah. And the leader of this group, Roln, I think, is their name. The names are all so similar. Toja is the daughter.
Is the daughter.
And the fact that like they were ready to like kill the 10-year-old girls, I was freaking losing it.
I lost it when the other one came out of hiding, and I was like, why'd you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
You fool.
And the just like the weapons that these pirates have as well, it's like, oh wow, these are so neat.
The world design and like the costume design and the like machine designs for the suits are freaking awesome.
Uh-huh.
And 100%. The creatures and everything that you see
later
is absolutely
it's like
amazing.
The sun expanding and all that radiation changing, like how some of these marauders look and how the creatures look and all of that in the world are so cool.
And it's fun because you can see what they started as.
Yeah.
Like it definitely has that hint to I can't think of the word anymore.
Oh, okay.
You looked at me and I couldn't think of it.
It's okay.
To anchor it. Okay.
But yeah, and then these guys they kidnap the daughters so that they have a direct line to the DNA to use the helm suit that they also steal.
Because eyeball won't last forever.
Nope, sure won't.
And they mortally wound the father. And
yeah.
The incredibly optimistic mother is left on the ship.
Yeah. Watching
her children get taken away and having to be there while her husband dies.
It's absolutely awful. And, is it a flashback in the next?
It is.
Where he's like,
telling
come
her
with me?
Yeah. Oh, that's the part I cried at.
Oh, God.
Because it was so gut-wrenching because it's not like he was detached from the situation with his children. It was solely because he loved her so much that he didn't want her to suffer alone.
Uh-huh.
And he looked at everything that was happening and he was like, we're not going to get out of this. No matter what you do, you cannot help our children. And I really don't want you to suffer.
Right.
It was so sad.
It really was. It was in issue 2, right?
I could have sworn it was in issue 2. It's not in the beginning.
It's not in the beginning. It's definitely not that. It's definitely not that. We're just gonna go through every page. Nope, it's not this.
Also there's this drug in this world called cream, and with all of the sexual components of this, it made me very uncomfortable with the name of the drug because I didn't know what they were talking about in the beginning.
Oh, that's more sex. Jesus, man. But yeah, it was absolutely gut-wrenching, and it was a beautiful moment in the book.
There were so many moments though in this book that were just so well done.
Uh-huh.
But they hurt so bad.
They really, really did. But yeah, so like you keep going around the world, and you see this girl, and I immediately knew it was one of the daughters.
Same. I didn't know which one, and then I was like, well, that's stupid for me not to know which one. The other one was like platinum blonde.
Yeah.
So I was like, never mind. When they said her name, I was like, oh, I know who that is. I'm like, well, of course it was going to be that one, Anna.
And just like everything that went with it. It's like this character, Tajo.
Yeah, sure. I said Tajo, which is probably...
I'm thinking like
butchered.
taco, but with a J.
Oh, I like that. She's a little spicy.
Yeah, exactly. And this character design of Rolm, so freaking cool. He's got like kind of that
I liked his
fallen samurai kind of.
Well, and I feel like it lent itself more to the fallen samurai with how his character aged versus when you first saw him.
Uh-huh.
Which, I mean, once you learn about the character's backstory, I think it makes a lot more sense also with how his how visually he changed.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite, which is probably super stupid, one of my favorite character design moments for him is the growth of his mustache and how it, with his collar, it gets stuck on the collar and then drapes forward, so it kind of looks like ribbons.
Yeah.
Super silly for me to like, I love that because it's so fun, but in like a really creepy and greasy way.
Yeah, Greg Tocchini. I feel like every single bit of his art had a purpose.
I love
like it was very deliberate. The art was great.
It was very loose while still carrying so much weight and so much detail.
I know.
And you could still read everything that was happening. No matter how loose those sex scenes were, you could definitely see what was happening.
Yeah. But like and the dude loves eyes. Like,
yeah, I noticed that too.
Like there are all of these panels where it's just showing the eyes of the different characters, and again, like I've said it over and over on episode after episode of this show that I truly love when faces are done well.
And those like single panel eyes. Reminded me a lot about your Hawkman comic last week also, because those were also prominent. Shown in single panels for the past lives, just as a, oh, hey.
And I loved it. And, you like you were saying, and for, because I do not know what to say as well for art, but it's like, the art is not super detailed, yet you can make out every detail.
Yeah.
Like that's the only way that I as a layperson can really describe what this art looks like.
Yeah, I feel like the lucidity of it is for the mood.
Yeah.
And it very much captures the mood.
And I'm sorry, Tajo's like costume design.
Yeah.
Super cool. Same with Rolms. And then
I love those wetsuits though.
Yeah. Especially when they're
you see them swimming. I think it's showcased best on page 72.
72. Oh, sorry.
So say, sir.
But yeah, like
with all the fins expanding and everything like that. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And how long the flippers are.
Yeah, and then again, like you can see that they design, like, the design for wetsuits and all of this has always been based very loosely on the animals that swim in water.
Yeah.
And you can see that still here.
Yeah.
Like, just looking at the one of these creatures, it's like it's like a cross of a butterfly and a lionfish.
Yeah.
The way that these suit
Just
wings and things kind of go out,
and it was also really cool because it's almost like the suit, I don't want to say has some intelligence to it, but some type of component that morphs on its own based on your intentions, because there are no claws in this suit that you can see when they're underwater. And then when Cell goes to try and kill Rome, it's through the fingers become these really long extension talons, kind of like a lionfish, and plunge in. See?
Yep.
So it's like the suit has a life of its own, based on the intentions of the person or the needs of the environment, which I thought was incredibly interesting.
Yeah, very neat. I still want to understand why
he didn't die.
Yeah.
He said it. He's internally mostly machine.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. So he's internally mostly machine, and his brother is externally mostly machine. And it's because they were shipwrecked. Like,
how did I miss that?
I don't know. It was like a 2-page explanation.
Okay.
Right before the fight scene.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you get his backstory and his brother's backstory and how they took over this particular bubble. Polis?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I, like, Merrick is his name, right?
Yeah.
I loved his character development.
Me too, which made the ending, way worse.
Well, and it
that shocked me.
It had such a satisfying arc. Like,
redemption arc.
Yeah, he starts as like this interesting, like, little kid that really doesn't want anything to do with the outside world, to his sisters disappearing, his dad dying, and him going down this very slippery slope and spiraling into, drugs, sex, and
trying to be somebody he's not. He explains it with an internal monologue of him trying to live up to his father, which every flashback moment with his dad is awesome.
It really is.
Storytelling wise, absolutely amazing. And the lessons that are interjected in there, something totally you should take away from.
Especially at the end, towards the end of this fight, where that shell gets thrown out, and he kind of.
I want to learn more about the shell because
I do.
They said it goes dark when you're not true to yourself, but it shone red on Tajo.
Like taco.
Like taco. It did not go dark. It shone red, and then with him, it shone bright white. So I want to know more about the shells.
I do too. And so here's the flashback scene, and
when he's talking about, it's kind of lame of you to give this to my sisters and make me work on it.
Right, but at the same time, he's like, well, look, it's glowing so incredibly bright for you right now. You
found it.
You are exactly where you need to be, and it would be terrible for me to take you away from it.
And then the hardest thing for you now to do is stay on your path. And I was like, oh, and then how he goes, and it's even more gut-wrenching.
But it's like, and then the fact that he essentially wins this battle by just being the absolute truest to himself that he could possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
And, as amazing and wonderful as it is, it's so sad.
Yeah.
How his
story
ends.
I don't want to say ends because we don't know how it continues.
That's true.
And with how the comic left off, I'm not totally convinced that we don't hear more about the character. Not necessarily that, how that world ended and how he died. I do believe he died.
Right.
But I don't necessarily believe that's the last we see of the character.
Right. I 100% agree. I think that we've definitely got a lot more.
Okay, when this scene was happening, did you also think Merrick was being stupid? This scene in particular is when he gets to Tajo.
Say taco first, that way you know.
When he finds his sister and is then going to go and try to rescue his mother, and she's like, well, how did you find me? He just comes out right, well, we weren't really looking. We just happened to find you. I was like, you idiot.
Yeah.
I do, though, love how her horns become like flames as she gets angry in this panel evolution. I'm like, ooh, she's steaming.
Well, it's like even her necklace, it starts glowing like a warm color, and then it starts to glow very cold.
Yeah.
It's like a mood necklace.
It is a mood necklace. It did not go dark.
Nope. But yeah, I agree. I was kind of like, wow, really? Dude, just...
I was like, man, I really hope my brother would be smarter than this.
Shut up. I would like to believe that...
This entire part is when I believe you learn about... Maybe not.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter,
yeah, no.
but...
I mean, you told me, so now I know.
Yeah.
But it was so freaking good. Quantumologist.
Yeah.
That's what the religion was, quantumology. It's like think positively and positive things will happen.
Yeah.
And I love that message. I think it's a great message. And you know, it's funny, like the title of it, The Delirium of Hope. My wife and I had just finished watching Ted Lasso, the first season of Ted Lasso, not too long before I read this. So every time they mentioned hope, I just kept thinking of it's the hope that kills you.
No.
But, and it's like, and then like thinking about what Ted was saying at the end is like, I don't like that. You know, I think it's the hope that keeps us going.
Yeah.
You know, it's giving up on that hope that
that'll inevitably
kill you.
Yeah.
But the whole book, and then when
the resolution to the main conflict at the end was swift and like dark.
Yeah.
I was not expecting it to be as fast as it was, and when it happened, I was like, "Oh man!"
I mean, so I didn't. There's like this. I didn't expect it to go the way that it did.
I was so mad that Merrick died.
I was mad that Merrick died as well. I need to read more. Like,
because I want to know also what happens to her sister.
I want to know what happened to her sister Della. I want to know what happens with this probe that potentially found a new planet, which we didn't even mention in our talk. But it's like that's the whole reason that his mom or her mom had got
a sub
and gone back out there.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's going to be incredibly interesting to see Cell's character development because, like, so many bad things. She's Spider-Man.
Yeah. She's so optimistic. Like, she has such an optimistic outlook. And it's not that you see this character as almost like insanely optimistic. You do see the character struggle with her optimistic outlook.
Yeah. It's like sitting there truly trying to work out, like,
why she's still alive and why all of these things happen to her when she knows.
It's like, this is happening for a reason, but why?
Yeah.
What terrible reason could this be? And I don't want her to lose it, but I do want to know, like...
I hope that and I don't mean this in like a bad way, but I hope almost that she does lose it and that the ones to bring her back from it is Tajo.
Tajo, yeah.
Yeah. Because that would be I feel like that would be an equally incredible character progression and development similar to Merrick.
Yeah.
With all of the struggle and hardships and just, I mean, she essentially
absolutely insane. Obliterated.
I mean, not insane, but
she got revenge on and killed probably a lot of innocent people.
Yeah, I mean, she went from being brainwashed and against her family to like the complete opposite and has not found the light yet.
Yeah.
She just switched sides, but her outlook on the sides hasn't really changed.
Correct. It's like, thank God she wasn't against her mom when she got back in that home suit.
Right.
Oh. But yeah, so like the whole point of, Rome torturing Cell is that he is trying to learn the location of
the probe.
Of the probe.
And the only
to potentially
reason
learn the location of the planet.
And the only reason he knows about the probe is because Merrick told his sister about the probe.
Yep.
While also telling her, we weren't looking for you.
Dumbass.
I will say, as much as I really loved the end card, like the end final comic, no, that final scene with Merrick and the father as a flashback. Nope. Go forward. This is not the final page. That is the final page.
Okay.
This one confused me a little bit for continuity's sake. Because Cell had said that her son had not left the the dome.
Mm-hmm.
And in this panel page, or page, not panel, because it's a whole page, he is clearly outside of the dome because he is in a sub. And he is steering.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think that, I don't know if that's a continuity thing or if that's going to lend itself into whatever Merrick's story is after this.
Right.
So I'm like, I want to know because I feel like with how the storytelling went and how the art went throughout this, that this does make sense. I just don't know yet how.
I mean, this could also be, the the afterlife.
Well, that's what I thought.
That's kind of
because especially with how, the dad was like, as long as you do this, they'll have a proud old man, and that's exactly what he did. So that's why I was one of the things that I contemplated as a.
And I loved the actual end card here, with the quote, "To resist the depths of the world's sorrow, the truth of one's heart must be honored." And it's like,
I thought that it was, the entire volume was very full of powerful quotes and morals.
Yeah.
And I did really like that almost the majority of the issues, or the independent issues, ended with just a single quote and a black page.
Yeah. It was
strong storytelling.
Really strong storytelling. And I believe, if I remember correctly, the cover art and the art is done by the same person.
I believe so.
But all of the alternate art at the end too, awesome.
Yeah.
I loved all of the variant covers and the sketchbook and all of that, going through and kind of seeing how they evolved the suits, the underwater suits, and the subs were really, really fascinating. And then of course all of the Rolm designs,
seeing all of the concept art was really interesting because I feel like it was a very dense world that they created. It was just completely filled with new things that they had to think through. I did, because I loved this so much, I did read with the little the back said with the
Like the ratings and or the reviews.
And one of my favorite ones is Lois so rich and beautiful yet depressing as hell, and I love every page of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredibly accurate. Like, there's something that is equally like as much as it brings you down, there's something equally kind of uplifting about the story that it's telling. And
it's so well done.
It is so well done. And this team of Remender and Tercini, I want to read the Last Days of American Crime
because of this.
Like, this is,
I'm very happy that this is also my first sci-fi comic, independent sci-fi comic.
Yeah.
Because it was a really good one.
it was a fantastic one. And like I really cannot praise this pick more.
This pick. We're into art.
No, I'm sorry. This pick.
Pick. Oh. Not pick as in picture. Pick as in choice.
Correct.
I hope I wasn't the only one who thought that.
You probably were.
Okay.
So when talking about like favorite panels, I struggled with this because, again, everything was so incredibly well done.
It was. I have so many, and I feel so bad about it.
And like we talked about one of them that I did really like, and that was the underwater suits.
Oh, I have that one on there too.
Specifically,
for me, just because of how
the
awesome
panel with them with the jellyfish. I know you love jellyfish.
Jellyfish are awesome, and they glowed.
Yeah, and then this one's not really a panel; it's the series of panels where you see Tajo kind of having all of her flashbacks to all the terrible things that happened after Roland, rips out Merrick's eye.
And she was the one who was right next to her dad when
his eye got ripped out. Yep. And you just see like the switch flip.
Yeah, the switch flip.
Yeah. You flip a switch?
I understand. I was laughing.
Okay.
Just because it's a fun. Never mind. I wasn't laughing because it's not a thing. I know it's a thing.
And then like
I'm used to it the other way around. Like you flip the switch.
Gotcha. And then, of course, seeing Roland go from, haha, I have another eye, to, oh, shit.
She made it here first.
Yep. And it was great kind of seeing Roland go from, oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So yeah, let's talk about some of your favorite.
So I mean, my all-time favorite panel or page rather is 129. So I mean, it's this full page of when Merrick gets speared in the chest, which is probably like one you're like, why on earth would that be your favorite? But I really liked the entire page layout. The focal point is obviously him getting speared, but you see the entire battle sequence just on a smaller scale happening pretty much all around the layout.
It's almost like it's a basketball game where the kill is on the Jumbotron.
Yeah, almost. And I felt that by making him getting speared the huge image, it was almost like this entire wild, chaotic scene that's happening around them goes real quiet.
Yeah. Just
with how the color progresses and the entire, the mood of it, the color scheme, how they addressed scale for the drama of the moment, and how the curtains break away. It makes the entire page, the entire panel, even though there are multiple panels on the page, which is why that one was probably my absolute favorite. I screamed and cried when this happened, but that's probably why that one was my favorite. We did talk about the submarine suits, so I'm not going to necessarily go with that one. But then page 74, which is still an underwater scene.
I mean, the whole book takes place underwater, so.
Okay, well, when they are physically in the water. It's a 2-page spread, and I really liked how the artist did the layout because they're making the left side a full page illustration that carries into the right side, where separating these really large panels for the storytelling. So it kind of just emulates the vastness of the ocean, and you get to see all of the creatures, and it's beautiful. The suits are cool, and the colors are beautiful. Everything seems like it is glowing. And I love it when you can feel the glow in such a dark void, which is the ocean at this depth. Beautifully captured. And I will say every time that you see the world zoomed out was incredibly well done. When you see the dome, even in the very, very beginning, when, you know, they wake up and they draw back the curtains and you see the dome, like internal dome world, was amazing. And the world when you're going into or transitioning from the ocean to Polis? Paloma. Okay. The pirate dome, essentially.
Polis was a map in Among Us.
Oh, I've played that.
Yep.
Okay, well, anyway, the transition from the ocean to the pirate dome, essentially, and that color scheme and just all of those creatures changing from these beautiful, fantastical creatures into these super slimy and chaotic characters. Extremely well done.
Again, I cannot... The world building and depiction and all of that was just so good. It's a different post-apocalypse than like most of what you see. Like,
I'm incredibly excited to see what the surface world is going to be like.
I know.
Even if it's just like a straight void. To contrast all the life that you get to see underwater.
I finally found it.
Super interesting. Oh yeah, where's she?
The flashback where, you know, Droln, whatever, the dad. Names are not great. Rollin and Droln, really close. And like the emotion that's portrayed in here and all of that, it's like this is again one of those scenarios where I'm like, what on earth would I be doing in this situation? And it's just heartbreaking. And then
so much emotion in this book.
So much. And it's not like, it's so good.
Yeah.
It is so good.
Woohoo! I really wish that after how much I enjoyed this, that I had a better story on why I picked it.
You know what, though? It is what it is. Like, whatever. I guess let's get into ratings, right?
Yeah.
So story, again, I cannot stress enough how amazingly wonderful and beautiful and just fantastic this story and this world was. A lot of this stuff kind of reminded me of Atlantis.
It reminded me of a mix of Atlantis and Treasure Planet.
Yeah. That's the other one.
Like
Absolutely.
If Treasure Planet took place underwater.
There wasn't a dull moment. There wasn't a slow moment. There wasn't any moment in this book that didn't feel like it was there for a reason. And I have to give the story on this a 10 out of 10. Like, it is.
I mean, I feel so stupid with my scores because I feel I always just feel self-conscious of scoring when I score high. But I completely agree that the story, there never was a dull moment. There never seemed to be a moment that was unnecessary. even with the vulgar scenes, they served a purpose.
Yep.
Everything was to serve the world and to serve the characters. Every character had amazing growth or development. And I'm interested in continuing, which is always like one of my bullet, like, one, would I recommend it for sure? And two, do I want to continue it? And I do.
Yeah. So
I would give it a 10. And it's definitely, I'm a huge rereader, and I would reread this.
Absolutely.
I know like a lot of people don't like rereading, but
no, this is amazing. And
this is another one where I would love, like, just like with Witch Hat, love hard copy.
Yep. I want some posters of this art.
I still think it would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Art's me. Yeah. Sorry. There was a pause, and I was like, what are you waiting for, Ben?
No, I was trying to figure out what was next.
Yeah. So art for me, it is different from pretty much from what you would expect comic book art to be. I love the loose hand. I loved all of the detail that they still incorporated. I loved the things that they created. Like, the creativity that went into this world building and character building is phenomenal. I can't really see or pick out anything that I don't like. I loved the color theory. I thought that the colors that they chose intensified the moment and separated the worlds or the environments that they were in really well. So because I can't truly find something that I didn't enjoy or that I felt wasn't done well, I would give it also a 10 out of 10.
Art? Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's mostly because even if this isn't your thing, it can not be your thing, but done perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said also a 10 out of 10 for you?
Absolutely. Like, again, everything seems so deliberate, and all of the set pieces were deliberate and had like wonderful details. Like even this page that we're on, the first page of the second issue, where Stell is, walking around her room, and there's just all of these pictures of her husband and her kids, and like.
And at this moment, you didn't even know if he died or not. That hurt me.
Yeah, that's true. You didn't.
So I mean, I'm watching this. I'm like, oh my god, wait, what?
Well, and you didn't know that it takes place 10 years later.
I know. And I was like, all those kids are 20.
Yeah.
And then you didn't really know how old Merrick was in the beginning.
Yeah.
You don't
just
actually
so he's
know
older.
Yeah. Than his twin sisters.
Yep.
But.
And like even this scene where he's
hanging,
attempting to kill himself.
Which, that one moment where he just shrugs and he's like, I'm still gonna do it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom. It was comical in a, oh man, because he also is really sad. He's like, you've been through so much and I feel so bad, but I gotta do this.
But yeah, the art was just, and I mean, like,
totally a recommendable book.
This, and I would recommend it to like almost anyone.
Same.
Like, there's not like a lot of the books that we've talked about. It's like, oh yeah, I would recommend this to someone who's interested in maybe reading something about Hawkman, or who likes mythology or things like this. This one is great for someone who likes sci-fi.
Yes.
Great for someone who wants to read comic books.
Yes.
Great for someone who enjoys world building.
Mm-hmm. Anyone who just enjoys looking at the artwork in comics.
Exactly. It's like, it's funny because like the first couple of pages of this one, I'm like, I'm not really sold on the art here. But it's like as I kept reading it, it's like I did not know how much I would like this kind of art style, and it's fantastic. It's the fact that it could convince me, like after an initial impression of,
yeah.
It's great. I would even say, like, if you're into like fantasy kind of or like Lovecraftian kind of styles of storytelling, that this is also a great book for you.
I honestly would be hard pressed to not recommend it to somebody if they were getting into comics. Yeah, I mean, I will say for the art style, I try to pick comics that I already go into it knowing that I'm going to either enjoy the art style or not care. And in this, because it was so different, I was like, I'm going to like it. I have no idea if Ben's gonna.
Yeah, I mean, it is very different, but refreshingly so.
Yeah, and again, even if it's not if something isn't your taste in art, it can still be done well and executed perfectly for it what it is.
Absolutely. All right, this is your book, so you get to give the overall score first. I assume
a 2.
Yep. Same, actually. Absolutely.
A 10. Well,
I mean, I'm just going to say it as well as like I'm also a 10.
Well, yeah, I mean, we both gave it 2 10s.
This is the first book in Rival-Read history that has gotten 10s across the board from both of us.
Oh yeah, I was like,
I've
Witch Hat got 10, but Witch Hat did not get 10 for story from you.
Right.
That's right.
Because I felt like it was kind of
contrived.
Yeah. But yeah, this is 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10 out of 10, 60 out of 60.
Fate said we gotta get you guys to read it. That's how I should tell that story. Not that I just stumbled upon it. The world said, nay. Read it.
It's so good. It's so good. I have nothing else to say. It's so good. If you're listening to this having not read it, go fucking read this book.
Totally worth it. 100% worth it. 100% recommend. And we would love to hear what your favorite panels are, especially in a book where we're like, oh my god, the art is so fun and so great. And the story is so fun and so great. I don't think you could pick one that we would be like, really?
Right. So the next pick is mine for the manga. I went off of a recommendation from a viewer. Or not just a viewer, but a pretty good friend of mine in the Discord server spoke very highly of Astro Boy as a character and this specific story arc. So it's the first not volume 1 manga that we're doing on the show. Yeah, it'll be interesting. So yeah, Astro Boy volume 3 is next week's book.
Woo!
Which is actually republished by Dark Horse, so you can read it in the Western direction.
Yeah, I was not anticipating that when
Neither
I started,
was I.
and so I had to do guided.
We'll talk about that later.
Where can they find you, Ben?
We're starting with me.
I like it when we start with you because it catches you off guard.
So you can find me everywhere on the internet at It's Ben Pie. ITSBENPAI. That's Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. I don't think I'm posting anything on TikTok. I think there are some YouTube shorts that are going to be coming soon. But no TikTok. I'll look at TikTok. You can also follow my own personal art, which is photography, on Instagram at BenPiePhoto. So yeah, and then of course you can find all of the links for everything Sibling Rival-Read related. It's benpie.com/comic book club. Just to make it easy to spell. Anna, where can they find you?
On Instagram, I have 2 accounts. One is personal, mostly of my dog, which is Anna_Riddick. And then I have a design account, which is a_Riddick_designs. We also have the Sibling Rival-Read Instagram page.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just Sibling Rival-Read. No underscores. You're welcome, Ben.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I have a Twitter.
She doesn't use it.
No, I don't. So, yeah.
All right. Well, guys, until next issue, remember to keep your pull lists nice and full. Let us know what your favorite comics are. Like, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff. And until next week, Shalom-Aste.
Shalom-Aste.
Did it. We did it together.